Well, I was born in Virginia, moved to Minneapolis at the age of 1. My dad worked for the airline, so naturally I'm going to get a natural tendency to want to explore aviation as I grew up. So on the weekends, my dad would drive us to the airport and let us watch airplanes. My father was a equipment handler out at Northwest Airlines back in the 50s and 60s, and then of course with his college degree he decided he was going to go back and get an additional training and became a public school teacher. I was a paper boy, delivered papers, and was fortunate enough to have delivered the most papers, and I got a free ride along with 2 of my high school friends. And then my training was actually right here at Crystal Airport, and I'll never forget walking in that day just to pick up some magazines, and the instructor said, $8 for the plane, $4 for the instructor. And my thought was, where am I going to get $12? But it worked it out. When I was about, I think I was in high school, I decided I was going to build an airplane. And me and a couple of buddies, one of course, which was a very close friend, decided they wanted to build an airplane. And sure enough, we built one, but it didn't fly, never flew. We actually bought all the timbers, screwed it all together, made it look like an airplane, but no motor.
Growing up, did you see a lot of other black pilots?
You know, unfortunately, I did not. But it wasn't a matter of color. It was a matter of, just one, an interest, a genuine interest, a passion that I had. It wasn't about the color of the pilot or anything like that. So as a young person, of course, I couldn't associate with that in terms of the distinctions between black and white, in terms of who was eligible and who wasn't. I learned that later on in life. In the public school system, we were pretty diverse, back in that time. And so, again, a lot of the hardships and things that you would experience, in a society such as we've had, weren't as apparent. I was fortunate to go to the University of Minnesota, and they had an aviation program at the University of Minnesota. And I did try to, inquire about that. Not that I was directly discouraged, but my first experience in being discouraged to pursue a field in aviation was actually from my father. He too had an interest in aviation, but of course back in the 40s and 50s it just wasn't going to happen. And so he says, boy, by the time you're old enough to fly an airplane, they'll be landing themselves. And, they are. When I did get a job finally, after training many airline pilots, I was stationed in Memphis, Tennessee. And if you can imagine what that was like with the 1968 killing of Martin Luther King and things of that nature. So throughout all my basic training, I was hotel, one room, one pilot. There was only 2 persons of color in my class of 26. And I'll never forget, the instructor came in that first day and he says, look to your left and look to your right. One of y'all won't be here. And I thought to myself, I say, that's one way of telling you that you're not going to make it. I did make it. I worked for the University of Minnesota in the Urban Aid Department, and then I went off and was a lecturer down at Southwest State College in Marshall, Minnesota. Worked for the State Department of Education here in developing curriculum. And then one of my students that I had trained, because I was a flight instructor, was flying in and had lost an engine out over St. Cloud, and it was his last flight for that particular company. And he landed, and he says, call me when you get a chance. And I called him. I was getting ready to go out on a flight here out of Crystal. And he said, I just got hired by Northwest Airlines. And I said, really? What are you doing? He said, I'm a pilot. He said, you should go to apply. And so naturally what I did is I did apply. I got the job. I stayed there about 3 or 4 years, got laid off, unfortunately. And then started my company, Executive Air Leasing, which is a travel management company and an aircraft leasing company. And that was what I did for the rest of my aviation career. I enjoy the industry, I enjoy the people, and I enjoy the benefits of what it has to offer as a pilot.
What does Black History Month mean to you?
Well, it's the essence of the contributions that we as people of color have always contributed to the benefit of others, going all the way back into 340 years ago. Our contributions were never really realized or recognized. But I think the fact that I can be a part of that whole process really kind of inspires me as a person of color to want to encourage and promote and also welcome other persons. We have a lot of diverse, people coming from different cultures and backgrounds that have ambitions, and those ambitions should never be squandered because of a person's color of skin.